This case is about parental consent and privacy, really, in my mind. Basically, what the state was doing was taking what was a good thing, which is a newborn screening test. Basically, they test newborns for a variety of metabolic disorders that can be really dangerous to their health and even fatal. But what they were doing was, after those test results were processed, is keeping the blood spots of the kids and putting them in a state database and holding on to those indefinitely. And the state was not letting parents know, number one, that they were doing this, so obviously they weren't getting our consent for them to keep our kids' blood in a state database, and that was quite shocking. So this was really a lawsuit to force the state to, number one, if they're going to do this, to do it with people's consent. And number two, to figure out what was going to happen with the blood of millions and millions of Texas children that they already have in this state database. I mean, I think that, you know, if I had gotten a notice in the hospital or at my pediatrician's office from the health department, the Texas Department of Health, saying, we would like to keep your son's blood spot because we're running a test on, you know, Latinos and cancer, and it's a research project, and so we're testing whatever. I probably would have signed off and said yes, but at the point that the state decided that they were going to hold on to these blood spots and keep them. And this was a decision that was made without any public input. Nobody had heard about it. They just started keeping them. And they started using them without any notification, without asking for any consent. At that point, it became an invasion of privacy. Because I allowed my son's blood to be taken so that he could be tested for, I think it's, you know, maybe a dozen specific diseases. I didn't allow it to be taken so he could become a part of a state database. If there was no TCRP, I think it would be a disaster for Texas. I mean, just the breadth of work that the TCRP does, from representing prisoners, representing victims, immigrant victims of violence, representing people whose civil rights have been trampled in myriad different ways, representing people with disabilities, victims of police brutality and police violence. I just think that it's an organization that stands as a sentry and really shines a spotlight on abuses that, without someone to stand up and say, we're not going to allow this to happen, I really don't know where we would be in the state, because we only have rights. We only have the rights that we're willing to stand up and fight for, and that's what the TCRP does for us. And without that, we don't have any rights.